Welcome. My name is Amy Jean Nikoloff, and this is episode 4 of Mother's Writ and Wisdom. A question arose the other day about whether one person's words and actions can impact others around them. This brings me back to the connectedness or oneness I talked about last week. Many have achieved a higher level of consciousness by evolving into their promised lands or brains, becoming more self aware, while others are still on an evolutionary path. I would argue that there absolutely is a possibility that our words and actions impact others when in a connected state. But I believe that we have evolved even beyond that to an ability or abilities to connect and disconnect from group consciousness and from the whole. And as far as I'm concerned, it's good to release anger and grief in healthy therapeutic ways without impacting others. I have written several poetic rants and angry words as a method of healing therapy, and I certainly hope my healing release did not impact anyone else. My goal is to become a high energy conduit of love. To do so, one must evolve to their highest state of consciousness. One pathway is by experimentation and adventure and embracing the life lessons one learns along the way. I love travel and adventure and seeing new places and meeting new people. I hope to travel extensively in the coming years and discover great adventures along the open road. This thought brings me to life lessons. Some lessons are harder than others, and some far more valuable. But for the most part, there is always something to be learned. I will share one of my lessons in Chapter 6 of The Kingdom Has Arrived, Volume 1, Snippets from a Wild Ride, a Prayer, a Poem, a Prophecy. Chapter 6, Triumph Spitfire. When I turned 16, I wanted a car. I learned how to drive in my dad's VW Rabbit. It had standard transmission, which my dad insisted I learn before driving an automatic. While my dad had an accounting degree and had managed several companies over the years, he was a self-taught mechanic from back in his youth. Buying me a car quickly turned into a major event for the two of us. We scrutinized the newspaper ads over breakfast at Denny's every weekend in search of the perfect car. It had to fit into my budget. Well, kind of. I knew if I could find a car my dad liked, he would throw a little money my way to make it happen, especially if it was something that needed a little love, a project that would let him get back under the hood of a car again. My mom's eyes got wide as she stood at the porch watching the guys pull the pieces of my new Triumph Spitfire off the flatbed in the driveway. The car was not operable, but my dad and I knew the little British standard transmission two-seat convertible would be awesome when we had poured just the right amount of love into it. Mom turned, walked back in the house, and I heard the screen door slam behind her. Dad and I just looked at each other and went back to the task at hand. I got busy banishing Mom's car to the driveway to make space for our Operation Love and Repair. Meanwhile, my dad and my soon-to-be brother-in-law Todd were busy directing the guys on where to set each of the many pieces of the car. Dad had a vibrant look in his eyes that reminded me of the energy and enthusiasm he radiated prior to the heart attack he had in his late 30s. I had not seen him that vibrant in years. The long hours and stress of his work had taken a toll. But today, Dad and I were like two kids who just dumped our bucket of Halloween candy on the floor and were getting ready to dig in for a sugar fest. We spent months in the garage working on the car. I would sit on the wheelie thing, rolling around the garage looking at paint swatches, trying to decide on a color to paint the car. At the same time, I handed my dad the tools as he hollered out what he needed. Dad was building the engine piece by piece with no manual. Once the mechanical pieces were all in place, we dropped the car at the body shop for the repairs and painting to be completed. We had narrowed the color down to either fire engine red or candy apple red. I can't remember which color we painted it, but it was red and beautiful. I drove that little convertible proudly for years. I told everybody that my dad and I built it. Not exactly true, since I rolled around the garage, learning the names of tools and pondering paint colors, but I was there. A year later, my girlfriend and I were driving around the docks in Erie, Pennsylvania, with the top down. The docks were just a street downtown that led up to Lake Erie, where the marina was. The street was lined with bars and restaurants. Kids would park on the side of the road and hang out, at least the kids who weren't old enough to get into the bars yet. Anyways, we drove around to see if any of our friends were there. One boy we knew yelled out to me, I turned my head to the left to see who it was and drove right up under the back of a pickup truck. The truck was fine, but my beautiful red convertible was dented by the left tire. As a result, I was not able to make left turns because the tire would hit the damaged frame of the car. We had to figure out how to get home making only right turns, which was no simple feat when you live just a few blocks from the lake. I would share that story repeatedly over the years and tell how we laughed so hard we cried trying to get home by only making right turns. My dad was not amused, but I still share that story today and laugh. I and them, and you and me, that they may be perfected in unity, so that the world may know that you sent me and loved them even as you have loved me. John 17:23. Chapter 7, Floating Cross. I am 19 years old and home for the summer. College is finished until the fall semester. It's late in the morning as I scurry down the steps to find Mom standing behind the kitchen counter, coffee in hand. She is quiet, which is unlike her, and her face is somewhat down. Says her new job has her stressed, especially the standardized test. Mom's first teaching job after 20 years of parenting two daughters. I hurry to grab breakfast, pack a bag with sunscreen and some snacks. I'm off to the beach when Buck arrives to pick me up. Joy lights up my face as Buck pulls in the driveway after weeks of separation. Our summer jobs opposite shifts have left our longing intense. Mom's face now looks puzzled, as she thought we'd have lunch together. I was finally home for the summer, and she was enjoying our daily catch-up. She holds the screen door open as I step into the porch. Sadness sweeps through me, encrusted with guilt. My heart sinks to my stomach with the realization of inflicting pain on a devoted mother's undying love. I pause momentarily to behold her freckled face. Her face and her inner beauty burnt into my memory. She can't be replaced. This is the last time I see Mom with life in her body. My next view is one of Mom's deserted figure in a casket. I don't remember my time at the beach with Buck that day. He later breaks my heart in at least 1,000 pieces. What is engraved in my mind is the chair in the ER lobby, where I sit in utter shock. Out of nowhere, at age 45, Mom is gone. They ask me if I want to see Mom's dead body, but I am suspended outside my being, watching time slowly chug by, trying to catch up to a reality that had smacked me in the face. I was intoxicated by the antiseptic smell of the lobby. The screaming in my head couldn't catch wind, the originator caged in an alternate dimension. Stuck in the distance, the pills the doctor provided temporarily prevented me from facing the truth I couldn't change. Mom was still dead, and now on top of that was a headache from a pill meant to cure my heartache. The world kept on going, and I couldn't understand why people kept shopping and making party plans when my beautiful mom was too young to die, left this planet, and everyone still carried on. I wondered how I could continue when the woman who reared me was sealed in a box and planted in the ground. Where had she gone? I no longer understood a heaven and a God that cut beauty down like a rod. What would my life be like without her? Mom had resided at each moment my life encountered. How would I get married without Mom to make the list, order the dress, and make sure I invited all the proper guests? My babies with no grandma, the one who was the master of teaching us joy and making each moment matter. The funeral is a vague blur of moments I stumbled through. I don't remember who was there or anything that was said. The only thing I recall is my approach to the casket, to find Mom's face overpainted and her burial suit a disaster. Mom looked like a circus clown with too much rouge, so I closed my eyes to escape the strange view. I clasped in my palms the cross necklace Mom gave me and sent a prayer up to heaven requesting a rewind. As I begged for Mom's return, I felt the cross begin to float, suspended midair inside my prayerful hands. A tingling sensation radiated outward from my spine, rhythmically wrapping me in heaven's embrace. Have the drugs taken over or the spirit set in? A prayer in distress, a psalm of David. Lord, hear my prayer. In your faithfulness, listen to my pleading. Answer me in your righteousness. Do not enter into judgment with your servant before you. No one can be just. The enemy has pursued my soul. He has crushed my life to the ground. He has made me dwell in darkness like those long dead. My spirit is faint within me. My heart despairs. Psalm 143, 1 through 4. Thank you for joining me for episode 4 of Mother's Writ and Wisdom. We're currently reading The Kingdom Has Arrived, Volume 1, Snippets from a Wild Ride, A Prayer, a Poem, a Prophecy by Amy Jean Nicholoff.